I'm Michael, and I've been married to Ellie for 7 years. We had what I thought was a strong relationship, but I guess I was wrong. Let me tell you about the series of events that changed everything for me. It all started when I got injured at work. I'm a construction manager, and an accident on site left me with a busted knee. The doc said I needed to take a 6-week break to recover. Luckily, my job's insurance covered it, so I didn't have to worry about finances. I was looking forward to spending time at home, maybe catch up on some books or shows. But Ellie, she had other plans. Just a few days into my recovery, she announced she wanted to go on a mini vacation. I found it odd considering my situation, but she insisted it was something she needed. When I suggested I could join her, she shot the idea down immediately. She said it was against doctor's orders. My wife went on vacation, but I don't remember the doc saying anything about not traveling. I let it go, thinking maybe she needed some space, the stress of having an injured husband and all. So off she went on her vacation, and I stayed home, mostly watching TV and feeling a bit lonely. When Ellie returned, something felt off. She was distant, and whenever I tried to ask about her trip, she'd give vague answers. It was like she wasn't really there with me. That's when the seeds of doubt started sprouting in my head. I tried to shake off these feelings, but I couldn't. I needed to know what was going on. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. It sounds extreme, but I just had to know. The investigator did his thing. And after a couple of weeks, he came back with news that knocked the wind out of me. Ellie had been seen with another man during her vacation. They had pictures and everything. It felt like a punch in the gut. I confronted Ellie as soon as she got home. I remember my hands were shaking, and my voice was all hoarse. "Ellie, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked at me, a flicker of confusion passing over her face. "What's wrong, Michael? You look upset." I couldn't hold back any longer. I picked up the photos and held them out to her. "Can you explain this?" My voice was shaking now. Ellie took the photos, her eyes widening as she looked at them. For a moment, she said nothing, just stared at the evidence of her betrayal. "Michael," she started, but her voice trailed off. "Do you know how this feels to see these while I'm here recovering from an injury?" I was raising my voice now, the pain and betrayal turning into anger. "I trusted you, Ellie, and you were with someone else." She looked up, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I made a mistake, Michael. I was confused, lost. I never meant to hurt you." "A mistake? Is that what you call this?" I was on my feet now, my injured knee protesting. "You didn't just make a mistake, Ellie. You made a choice. And now I'm making mine." Ellie's face crumpled, and she reached out towards me. "Please, Michael, let's talk about this. We can fix it." I stepped back out of her reach. "Fix it? How can we fix this? How can I ever trust you again?" "Michael, I love you. I really do," she pleaded. "I don't think you understand what love means, Ellie. Love isn't deceit and betrayal." I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of finality washing over me. "I want a divorce. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect our marriage." Ellie's tears were flowing freely now, but I felt like my own had dried up long ago. "Michael, please, no. Ellie, it's over. You need to leave." My voice was firm, but inside, I felt like I was shattering into a million pieces. She stood there for a moment, looking like she wanted to say more. But then, with a final sob, she turned and walked out of the room. I heard the front door close quietly behind her. I sat back down, the room suddenly feeling too big, too empty. It was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do. But in that moment, I knew it was the only choice I had left. Looking back, I wonder if there were signs I missed. Were there moments I overlooked? But then I realized that maybe it's not about what I missed, but about what I'm going to do next. I'm still recovering, both from my injury and from this betrayal. But I've learned that life can throw curveballs. And sometimes, all you can do is adjust your stance and keep playing. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I'm taking it one day at a time. For anyone reading this, just know that sometimes the most unexpected events lead you to a path of self-discovery, hopefully a better tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my story. It's been therapeutic to write it all down. Update: Hey everyone, it's Michael again. I never thought I'd be back with an update, but a lot has happened since my last post. I wanted to share this because, well, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. It was around 2 a.m. I was jolted awake by the loud banging on the front door. Groggy and still in pain from my knee, I stumbled to the door, wondering who could possibly be there at this ungodly hour. Opening the door, I was met with the sight of Ellie. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She looked like a shadow of the woman I once knew. "Michael, please let me in. I need to talk to you," she sobbed, her voice filled with desperation. "Ellie, what are you doing here? It's 2 a.m. "You can't be here," I said, my heart racing with a mix of concern and frustration. "I have nowhere else to go. I've messed up everything, and I just need someone to talk to," she pleaded, trying to step past me into the house. I blocked her pass. "No, Ellie, you can't just show up here like this. We're getting a divorce, remember? You made your decision." "But, Michael, I made a mistake. I still love you. Can't we just talk?" Her voice was breaking, and she reached out to grab my arm. I pulled away, feeling a surge of anger. Love, is that what you call it after what you did? You can't just expect me to forget everything and play the comforting husband. She tried to push past me again, more forcefully this time. I just need to. I called the police. Explain. Please, Ellie, stop. I raised my voice, trying to keep her at bay. You can't just barge in here and disrupt my life again. What you did, it's not something that can be fixed with a late-night chat. Her sobs grew louder, and she slumped against the door frame. Please, Michael, I have nowhere else to go. I'm sorry, so sorry. I felt a pang of sympathy but stood my ground. I'm sorry too, Ellie, but this isn't right. You need to leave. When she didn't move, I realized I had no other choice. I'm calling the police, Ellie. You need to leave now. She looked up at me, a mix of hurt and disbelief in her eyes. You would call the cops on me. For both our sakes, yes, you need help, Ellie, but not the kind I can give. After dialing the police, I watched as they arrived and spoke to Ellie. She didn't resist as they led her away, her figure looking small and defeated under the flashing lights. Closing the door, I leaned against it, feeling drained. It was a sad, painful chapter in our lives, and I hoped that one day, both of us would find a way to heal and move on. Things escalated quickly. Ellie tried to push past me into the house. It was surreal, seeing her like this, desperate and not the person I thought I knew. I managed to hold her back, but I didn't want to hurt her, you know. It was just a lot to handle, especially in my still recovering state. I had no choice but to call the cops. They arrived pretty fast, and it was a scene straight out of a drama show, my estranged wife crying, police officers trying to calm her down, and me standing there in my pajamas just trying to process it all. The officers asked if I wanted to press charges for trespassing, but I couldn't do it. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to add more to her plate, even though she brought all this upon herself. People do make dumb decisions under pressure, and I get that. It doesn't excuse what she did, but I understand it in a way. They took her away to cool off for the night. I went back to bed, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. I kept thinking about how pressure, self-inflicted or not, can really mess with your head. It's no excuse for hurting others, but it does make you do things you never thought you'd do. So, that's the update. It's a lot to take in, and I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I'm focusing on healing, physically and emotionally. This whole ordeal has been a roller coaster, but I'm learning a lot about myself and about life in general. Thanks again for reading. Your support means a lot during these crazy times. Wow, the audacity isn't the saying don't kick them while they are down. I think she needs to hear that. Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. My wife and I met at a bar in Chicago. She was with 5 people, 2 men and 3 women. I was there alone that night to watch a football game. As soon as I spotted her, I wanted to talk to her. I resisted the urge for a bit, but then she made eye contact with me, and I was smitten. Her smile was so genuine, it made her eyes squint. When there was room for me to squeeze in, I switched chairs at the bar and greeted her. She seemed very pleased with me from the start. I found out she was with her sister and 4 co-workers to celebrate her 25th birthday. I was 27 at the time. I ordered her a drink, and we ended up talking through the entire football game. She joked with me about how I was missing it, but I told her I wasn't going to miss this, gesturing to her. We dated for 8 months before we just decided to move in with each other. We wanted to see each other more often, and it felt like the only way to do that was to share a place. We both worked full-time alternating shifts, so there were many days when we couldn't see each other at all and a few rare ones when we got to see each other all day. Before I knew it, we were together for 6 years. She helped me through the loss of my father and then my mother a week later. She always said I was her rock, but I could only see it the other way around. She was creative even in her empathetic sadness with me. We spent hours each weekend watching birds, marking ones we saw in a book my mother used to write in. I was grateful to have her, and I decided to marry her. Of course, the first year was blissful. I knew it would be. To celebrate our 1-year wedding anniversary, we had a party at the bar we met nearly a decade ago. She was still working the same job, along with her 4 co-workers, so they were there. Her sister and my best friend were there too. We were surrounded by loved ones and truly happy. On a Tuesday, my wife borrowed my car to get to work since hers was being worked on. I had to come home an hour earlier to do this for her, but my boss respected my work so much he didn't mind helping me out when I needed it. The next morning, when I was leaving for work, I saw that my wife had left the windows down all night long. That was unusual. Inside the car, it smelled like cigarette smoke and cologne. Besides that, the gas was much lower than where it would have been if she'd only gone to work and come home. I had fallen asleep on the couch the night before, so I wasn't sure if my wife got home later than usual. At work, I texted her asking why the car smelled and where the gas went. She said she didn't want me to freak out but that she'd given a ride home to one of her coworkers, Jared. I knew Jared ever since the night we met, but I'd never gotten that close to him. Upon hearing this, I sent him a message, and he confirmed that she did give him a ride but said he didn't smoke cigarettes. This puzzled me. Instead of confronting my wife more, I let it slide and made it my goal to get to know Jared and hang out with him. We started going out to play pool and drink together on Thursday nights, and I invited my best friend to come along. I asked Jared not to tell my wife we were hanging out because I needed to figure out something. And I only told my wife I was meeting my best friend each Thursday, so it was a half-truth. Sometime later, my wife came home from work wearing different clothes than she left in. Her other clothes were in a shopping bag, and I could tell she was hoping I wouldn't ask or notice. When I asked, she said she just felt like going shopping and wearing something new. She did a twirl for me. I forced a smile, but I knew something was up. My wife always washed new clothes before wearing them. She started a load of laundry with the clothes she was wearing earlier that day and went to the bathroom. I stopped it and smelled her clothes. They smelled unusual, nothing like her usual scent. I confronted her about it as she sat on the toilet. She said I was being crazy and she didn't know what else to tell me besides the truth. She said she just got new clothes and didn't do anything wrong. The next day, I came home from work just as a red car pulled away from our house. I asked my wife who it was, and she hesitated before saying it was her sister who stopped by for a visit. I immediately texted her sister to ask what kind of car she drives. She replied, saying a black SUV, and asked me why I didn't respond. Instead, I was doing my very best to remain calm as my wife and I ate dinner. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was cheating on me. I didn't know how to prove it without her shooting me down and explaining everything away. I also didn't want our marriage to end. We started playing Xbox together when her phone pinged. She read something, then sighed, just as I asked her who it was. My phone pinged as well. She told me it was Jared asking her to cover his shift at work in 30 minutes because he was unexpectedly invited to a concert that evening. I told her that was weird because Jared had just texted me to see if I wanted to meet at the bar. She stared at me dead in the eyes for what felt like an eternity. I could see her breathing heavily. She said she didn't realize Jared and I talked to each other. Without missing a beat, I reached for her phone. I got a good hold on it, but so did she. We struggled as I tried to pry it from her hands. She kept screaming at me to stop, saying I was hurting her. I finally got it from her and tried to get away, but she tackled me to the floor. I shook her off within a few moments, so she grabbed my phone and threatened to smash it if I didn't give her back her phone. I thought for a moment, but I came to the conclusion that finding out who my wife was cheating on me with was more important to me than having to buy a new phone. I had to see for myself what she was desperately trying to keep from me. I dove into the bathroom and locked the door behind me. She continued screaming in frustration and threatening to smash my phone a few more times before she actually did it, and pieces came sliding in under the door. My hands were shaking as I read her messages with someone named Adam. She'd sent him nudes, and he returned the favor. One of them included his face. So I knew who I was looking for. They talked about their sex, how good it was, and how marital sex could never compare to forbidden sex. His most recent text was asking her if she could come up with an excuse to meet him at the very same bar I met my wife in all those years ago. I barged through the bathroom door, smacking my wife's face with it unintentionally. I grabbed my keys as she screamed after me, futilely trying to stop me. I told her I wanted her out of the house by the time I got back. She expressed her disbelief, and I sped away, texting and replying to Adam with her phone. It said I was on my way and he should meet me out front. I found him immediately, parked the car, walked straight up to him, and punched him in the face. I asked him, in an elevated voice, if he just assumed I would never find out he was sleeping with my wife. A small crowd of people gathered around us, gasping and watching the drama unfold. He scrambled to get up, but I pushed him down at least twice before spitting on his face. I told him never to see her again. He finally got up and stumbled away, holding his jaw. When I got home, my wife was sitting on the steps. She noticed the red on my hand and started questioning me. When I didn't respond, she started begging me for forgiveness. She said she never meant to sleep with him and it only happened once before he started sending her pictures and asking for more. I told her to get out of my house, and this time I yelled at her while looking straight into her eyes. I'm sure she saw no love coming from me because that was all gone. I threw her phone at her, and she caught it by luck, tears pouring out of her eyes like she was the victim. I forcefully told her again to leave, so she went upstairs and started packing. She sat in her car with her stuff for an hour before pulling out of the driveway for the last time. She went to live with her sister, who was an hour and a half away, and she quit her job that same night. It's been 2 years since this happened. We're officially divorced now, but every day since, she sent me a good morning text among other things, trying to get me to respond or show any kind of emotion towards her. She hasn't gotten a new job and she's gained weight. Her sister is on the verge of kicking her out because she has no ambition in life. She tells me all this in the hopes that it will make me reply to her, but I never do. I'm starting a new relationship now, and I know that when she finds out, it will break her down even more. She knows she lost the love of her life, and there's no one to blame but herself. Opus, I am so sorry your wife did this to you. There is never any valid excuse to cheat on a spouse. Marital sex is supposed to be much more thrilling and special than sex with someone you haven't committed to. Being intimate with someone you've chosen to spend your life with is surely one of the greatest treasures anyone can experience in life. Is it not what so many of us strive for? To find and commit to one love that reciprocates our feelings and values us just the same. The moment infidelity happens, that promise and the sacredness of the marital union are destroyed. It can't be repaired or brought back. To need someone isn't enough. You must continually choose that person, the same person you committed to in the first place, because the moment you stop choosing them, that true love is at risk. To keep a love alive, you must remember why you love them and that they are worthy of your love throughout life. Now, let's get into our next story for today. At the time of this story, I, 22, male, had been with my girlfriend, 22, female, since high school. This is a pretty long and messed up story. Sorry for any errors as I'm writing on my phone. I've come to the end of my rope and have no idea how to navigate this mess. A bit of background. I'm male, 43, and my wife, 40, female, have been married for 16 years. We have 2 kids, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Our marriage was very rocky in the beginning, but we made it through those tough years and had come out much better from it. We married young, so maturity wasn't all there yet, but we knew we loved each other and could conquer any obstacle that came between our marriage. I'm still not sure whether this was wishful thinking. Anyway, my wife is a manager at a very big advertisement company for 3 years, and I'm in engineering for 7 years. Both our jobs pay well and have given our family a pretty good lifestyle. We were a very tight-knit family. We always made sure as parents that we were there for our kids to create great memories. No matter how busy we got, we always made time for our kids. Honestly, I consider myself a good dad and husband. I messed up sometimes when it came to my wife, but I did anything for this woman, and it honestly shocked me to my core when I found out that she was in a long-term affair, which brings me to the discovery. My wife was acting distant. In fact, the last 2 years before this one were the hardest. She just didn't seem to like anything I did. She kept comparing me to her boss. Yes, I know now, and would always tell me how he would handle this or that. Can't read her mind. Well, her boss can. Don't take the initiative to take her out on dates and make her feel special. Well, her boss does that for his wife. Why was I so immature, I would ask. What she wanted me to do to spice up our love life. Her usual answer was, don't ask, you need to already know and do it. So, I researched, bought books, since I was clueless, someone else had it happen. The answer, anything I attempted was met with either half-hearted appreciation or bitter disappointment. My wife was never like this in the years I've known her. So, I thought that the inability to make her happy was something I seriously needed to fix. Little did I know, it wasn't me who was doing the fixing the entire time. We were very close to her boss and his wife. They also have kids, and the kids loved each other. We brought them to our barbecues, family outings to the park, game days at the arcade. They have been to her house numerous times, and we've been to theirs. It's no surprise that we became close. I would confide in her boss about our marital problems. He gave me good advice. I thought he was a swell guy. Anyway, back to the discovery. I had grown emotionally tired from my wife's demands to better myself or the marriage was done. I was honestly shocked by her attitude because before all this, I thought we had a great marriage. So one night, she was busy laughing and giggling while texting someone. I was next to her in bed and was curious. The moment I leaned my head to take a peek, she viciously pulled away from me. She was angry instantly, asking me what I was doing. I told her I wanted to see what the joke was, and she told me it was none of my business and retreated to the bathroom. I think that's the day when I just knew deep down that there was an affair of sorts going on. I did not have proof, though. I made the mistake of asking her directly the next day. She was furious and denied any wrongdoing. I did not have access to her phone, but I wanted the truth terribly. I asked for her phone, and she refused. Only later during the night did she grudgingly give me the phone. Almost every text message she sent to specific people was deleted. I could tell because some conversations seemed inconsistent, and others downright ridiculous. I gave her the phone back, and we did not speak of it until a month later when I was able to get a buddy on it to check the phone and recover deleted texts. My wife had gotten another phone prior and hardly used the one she handed to me. Some texts were recovered, And it was through bits and pieces that I finally had proof that there was an affair going on. And you already guessed it, with her boss. I just knew if I confronted her then and there, she would find some way to weasel out of it, so I bided my time. I was a wreck, though. All I could think about was how it was going to affect the kids. The situation was horrible, and I cried in front of my buddy. I still did not want to give up the marriage. So, 3 days later, I bought How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. It's okay if you're shaking your head. I started reading, hoping that if I gave it to my wife, she would stop this nonsense. I wanted my wife back, and I wanted to save the marriage. I had planned on talking to her that said to work things out, but she had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait up for her. Of course, I contacted the workplace on the day to confirm the story she gave me and received no answer. They were not open on Saturdays. I tried her phone, but no answer. She came back home at 2 a.m. on Sunday and immediately showered and then came to bed. I asked why she was late, and she dodged the question by saying that she already told me not to wait for her. I was sick of this. I did not give her the book I bought. I was suffering, and she didn't care. She saw me suffering and didn't care. I contacted her boss's wife to find out from her if she knew anything. I was so desperate for stability, and to this day, I don't regret doing that. She was as shocked as I was when finding out. She wanted to confront her husband, but I told her he would probably lie and try to hide it better like my wife did. We met at her house to discuss what was going on, and I gave her the little proof that we had. She wanted more evidence, so we both decided to gather evidence on each of our sides and compare them. I started snooping up on my wife more, and she did the same with her husband. It was very easy on her end to find undeniable proof. Her husband was so arrogant that he didn't even delete the texts on his phone between him and my wife. The little texts I found earlier finally made sense, and we had a whole picture of how long the affair was, 2 years. The boss's wife was livid, and so was I. She wanted to get revenge on them, and so did I. They slept together everywhere. Her house, my house, expensive hotels, business trips. It was sickening to read all that. They even sent each other pics, but we decided to ignore the pics because we didn't want to scar ourselves with the images. We wanted revenge, but not an affair ourselves. We both decided that if they wanted each other, then they can have each other. We both drew up divorce papers at roughly the same time. We were dead set on it. Our spouses didn't know that we knew, and we acted our part. By the time our ducks were in a row, they were at it again, this time through collaborating with the boss's wife. We knew exactly where and how they were going to be served. We knew which hotel they booked for their weekend of fun. I personally went there with the sheriff. I waited in the lobby as the sheriff got everything working, and my wife was called to come down from her room. She did, dressed in a bathrobe, and I fear nothing else. She's panicking frantically, asking me what I was doing there. It was quite a distance from our home, but not too far. The sheriff asked for confirmation of her name and information. She confusedly answered in the affirmative and was served. It was very satisfying seeing the shocked look on her face, but I did not want to rub it in, so I decided to walk away, knowing the job was done. She didn't let me and was holding my arm, pulling me back and demanding to know the meaning of this. I told her, "You had an affair, and I'm leaving you." Simple. She started screaming at me and pulling my arm hard. The sheriff had to step in and tell her to release me at once. She did so and started crying, telling me she can explain. I had the wrong idea. It's my fault. I was getting angry, so I left quickly to get home. My wife told her boss, and he panicked from what I was told. He rushed home only to be served there. We did not give them time to get their heads on straight. We blindsided them, just like they did us. My divorce will be finalized in a couple of months. Hers might be taking a bit longer. Both my wife and her boss have been fighting us on the divorces. Neither wants to get divorced. The excuses I hear are that they never intended to leave their spouses. It was a purely sexual affair, nothing more. People have worse affairs and still come out with a great marriage. They messed up and would like a chance to fix the situation. I have asked my wife what she thought the outcome of all this was. She said she was going with the flow and acted completely out of character. She is not that person anymore. I told her she's an idiot. People around me are calling me evil for not giving my wife another chance. My kids know what's going on, age appropriate, and they are behind me 100%, but would like it if we stayed together. My resolve is slipping, coupled with the fact that we still live in the same house, and my wife is going to therapy and reading the book I bought. It's getting harder to stick to my guns. She says she's remorseful and will do whatever it takes. All I tell her is that she's sorry she got caught, and that's all I need to know. She called me a bitter, resentful person who can't look past all the negativity. She apologized for it later, but I know that's how she feels. The boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates that. She thinks I'm going to have a revenge affair or that her boss's wife is the reason I will not give us another chance. She has asked me repeatedly to initiate no contact with her boss's wife, just like she did with her boss. I told her she's crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and why should I respect your opinions now? See, I think I'm done. I have no respect for her. She still doesn't want to give up and is actively trying to engage with me about her thoughts and processes leading to her affair. I see them as excuses, so I don't entertain her. She wants me to do therapy with her. I've read many places where the therapist blames the victim, so I was like, hell no. She wants me to read infidelity books with her. What is the point if we're going to divorce anyway? She wants to be intimate. I told her she was not going to manipulate me with sex. She says it's not manipulation and she just wants to show me how much she loves me. I corrected her and said, love me now, you mean? People around me are frustrated with me, even my mom, because they say people make mistakes and my wife realizes through her mistakes that she truly does love me. I told people that I will never be anyone's fallback plan. I feel very bad for treating her the way I do. I still love her, even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel to her? She's trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People were saying I'm moving too quickly and I will regret it. Is that true? I don't know what's real and what's not. Update, okay, I'm back again. I'm trying for the second time because I've been getting email after email asking me for an update. Thanks for your concern, guys. I understand your curiosity. And I'd like to clear up a few things. Firstly, my wife and I are in a sort of good place right now. It is not because we are reconciling. No, I'm still divorcing her. The last update I posted, which was taken down by the auto mod, explained in great detail our situation. The short version is my wife is still begging for another chance and is doing whatever it takes to get it. I will not give it to her because her affair was way too long for me to get over. If it had been a one-night stand, that would be a different story. But no, 2 years is just a slap in the face. I have gone to a few therapy sessions with her because I'm not a monster and still love her. One session was very good and made me understand that my wife is actually remorseful. She has not been perfect with how she handled the fallout of her affair, but she has been trying pretty damn hard. The second session was a mess, with her upset at me for continuously contacting the boss's wife and her being afraid of a revenge affair. It was the angriest I have ever been through this whole mess, and we did argue a great deal later because I refused to do what she wanted, which is no contact with the boss's wife. That was resolved when I promised her that there would be no revenge affair. I know I don't owe her anything, but she's still my wife until our divorce, and I still want to hold true to my commitment. I have been going to a few more sessions with her just to see her progress. Yes, this therapist is an individual and marriage therapist. No, I'm not going to these sessions because deep down I want to save our marriage. I want to see my wife's progress myself and participate if I have to. After the divorce, I will step away gracefully. The boss's wife is still leaving her husband. Her husband is still fighting her on the divorce. She is as adamant as I am. And I will admit we do confide in each other when we have lows. I still do not see any affair happening. We are just on friendly terms with each other. That's all. She is a strong and independent woman who takes no BS from anyone. My kids are fine. They know just because we're divorcing doesn't mean we love them any less. They don't want to divorce but understand why it's necessary for us in an age-appropriate manner. My wife doesn't work at the advertisement company anymore. She works elsewhere. She resigned shortly after I served her. She has been strictly no contact with her former boss. According to her, she reached out on forums to get help on saving the marriage and used that advice. I've been reading a lot here, and at first, I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers. But after seeing my wife work her butt off to be a better person, I can see the temptation. She's not a monster, she's just flawed and made horrible choices, which she's learning to be better from. She has offered me everything under the sun to be given another chance. I'm not so sure I have it in me. The closer the divorce comes to being final, the more at peace I feel. We recently had a long discussion about her asking to have a chance after the divorce. She has offered a post up. I was not completely opposed to it, actually, but it would be a very, very long road for her to travel for me to even consider it a possibility. She seems quite willing, but I don't see how that would benefit any of us, to be honest. A huge part of me wants this divorce out of a fleeting sense of justice. It's the only justice I can get without lowering myself to an adulterer. My mom and I made up after I revealed more about my wife's affair. Although now she's absolutely furious with my wife after learning the details. I don't know how to navigate that one. Update. I didn't want to write here until my divorce was finalized, but I'm just pissed off today and really want to vent. As many of you know, my wife is scared crazy about a revenge affair. The simple reason is that I'm still in contact with and see the other woman she betrayed. My wife is very insecure compared to OBS. OBS is younger, a model, very attractive, and owns a successful business. It makes my wife paranoid that I will give in to temptation and cheat on her as revenge. I still cannot believe the nerve of her to give me the two wrongs don't make a right speech. Of course, she isn't wrong, and I don't intend to ever follow through, but her hypocrisy infuriates me every time. I'm going to visit OBS like yesterday. She gets extremely sad or extremely clingy. I don't know how many times she has thrown herself at me just to make sure that I don't cheat on her back. I reject her attempts, and it only makes things worse. It absolutely floors me that cheaters are this selfish, only thinking about themselves and their pain, while the betrayed have to trudge along and try to pick up the pieces. Another thing, our kids still see their kids. I never go to OBS without my kids. But no, my wife still thinks I have it in me to be as heartless as she was and take any opportunity to bang the woman. Laughable, honestly. M is still living in her holiday home, begging OBS to take him back. I'm not going to lie. It brings me a sense of great satisfaction to see him suffer the consequences. He is not trying to threaten me because of how much leverage I have on him. He has to deal with the fact that I'm still in contact with his wife. He is allowed to visit his kids anytime he wants but doesn't want to see me, so he makes sure I'm not around and then visits. I pity the guy, honestly. Currently, my wife has been super apologetic. She has showered me with affection, which I simply brushed off. I'm not in a good place. We are having a therapy session today, and I feel like unloading all the pain and hurt I've had to endure because of her. The rage I feel is becoming overwhelming. Next update. Looking through my posts and messages, I realized what a great place this is that gives support to people like us. I have been reading a lot of stuff that concerns infidelity in order to get a better picture of my situation. Anyway, during a recent therapy session with my wife, she requested that I give her a little more time for her to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea for me to at least try and see if I could participate. Quick backstory for those who aren't aware of my situation. My ex-wife cheated on me. She craves attention and always needs somebody to talk to. I don't mind giving attention, but it's not something I necessarily need. I don't mind going a few days without seeing or talking to anybody. The other guy knew she was married and pursued her by love-bombing her with letters and gifts, texting her periodically telling her he misses her, calling late at night, and calling again when she ignores it. He even got her name tattooed on himself. I am reflecting on everything that has happened to me in the last few months, and I can't help but think of everything she has said to me during this time. We met one night to have a discussion, and she started off the conversation with, "If at any time I don't like what you say, I will get up and leave." The next words out of her mouth were, "I am sorry that I cheated on you, but I did it for a reason." And then she proceeded to tell me everything I did wrong during and after our relationship. While I couldn't defend myself, she also proceeded to blame me for her insecurities. When she first told me she wanted to separate, I told her that she tends to make decisions based on emotion instead of logic and that she needs to make sure she is actually making a logical decision here. This was before I found out she was seeing somebody else. When she decided on divorce, she told me that she feels like she is finally making a logical decision and that she needs to listen to her heart. What kind of logical decision is that? I first encountered the other guy when I found the letters. I told her that the moment he showed any interest, she should have shut it down. If he had sent letters anyway, she should have cut communication. She told me that the letters should have been an indication of how bad our marriage had become. When I found them, all I did was tell her it needs to stop, and that was it. I didn't step up and do anything to make her want to stop engaging with him. I don't have any tattoos. When we were together, I always talked about getting one, and she said, "If you're going to get a tattoo, it's either going to symbolize us or it's my name." I don't care how long I've been with my partner, I will not get her name tattooed on me. Well, the other guy did it after knowing her for roughly a year, and it's very evident that she is impressed. She says to me, "He actually did it because he cares about me, something you refused to do throughout the course of our relationship." When I told her that this is a red flag and if something were to happen between them, this is going to be on him for the rest of his life, so she better watch out. Her response was, "For somebody who cares so much about women's rights, you sure have a problem with what somebody else does with their body." I couldn't believe that and had to walk away. I also told her the constant phone calls and texts were red flags as well. And her response was, "God forbid he pays attention to me." I told her that it's one thing if she got into another relationship after we break up, but she is literally going into a relationship with somebody knowing that she is married. And I asked how she doesn't realize what a pos that is. Her response to that was, "Well, he knows I don't want to be with you." I personally don't care what she told him. Any decent human being should know that married women are off limits until after they are separated or divorced. He did not respect that boundary and continued to pursue her. I try not to talk to her, but whenever I do, there's a certain level of respect I try to maintain with her. She doesn't know about my relationship status, who I'm seeing, who I'm talking to, etc. She is incapable of this, and it seems like all she does is want to talk about him and her new relationship. One day she asked me what my plans were for the weekend. I don't remember what I said, but I don't think it was anything big. She said that his favorite team is in town, so she's going to take him to a hockey game. I decided, screw this, and finally revealed that a girl I was seeing at the time is trying to get into sports as well. Well, and I plan on taking her to some games. Her response was, good for you for finally revealing that you're seeing somebody. Doesn't it feel good to finally be honest? Please don't treat her like you treated me, or else she'll leave you like I did. I hope you learn from your relationship with me. I learned to never settle and to know what I deserve. I deserve to be loved and to be loved deeply. We stopped talking for a good while after that. We met again to have another discussion, and I asked her how she could do what she did. She said that she is sorry for what she did and that she didn't intend to hurt me. She questioned why she continued to give energy and effort towards her husband that wouldn't reciprocate it back to her when there was a guy who was literally paying attention right at her. In the end, she just wanted to be happy. If you ask me, this is extremely selfish. Not only was she so desperate for happiness that she was willing to do whatever it took and didn't care who she hurt in the process, but she craved attention so much that she was willing to give up her marriage for somebody who was bombing her with it. We were talking about our future plans. She said that she wants to start a business where she buys property and flips houses. The other guy is a director of a real estate company and understands construction, so it's coming together that she plans on using him to get her foot in the door. I then asked, don't you need startup capital? She says, yes, he has money and investments that I can use. She is literally admitting to mooching off him. This is personally not something I'd be proud to admit. He has 2 teenage kids too that I'm sure he'd rather put that money towards. There's no way I'm the only one who thinks that all of these statements are delusional, right? I can't believe that these are words coming from a 35-year-old woman. It was during this period that fate seemed to take an ironic turn, as she became more entangled in her ambitious project of flipping houses funded by her new partner, the director of a real estate company. I was silently making my own strides. I had invested in a rival real estate firm, learning the ropes and growing independently without fanfare or the need for constant validation. Then her world began to crumble. Her partner came under investigation for fraud. His assets were frozen, and suddenly, the financial backbone of her business venture vanished as her projects faltered. My firm, unbeknownst to her, was on the rise. We saw an opportunity and bought out her troubled properties at a substantially lower value. It was a purely business decision, but the irony wasn't lost on me. There she was, the woman who had criticized me for not being enough, now struggling because of her dependency on someone else. And here I was, the man she left, finding success through my own merits. I hadn't planned this as revenge. Life just unfolded this way. But in that moment, I realized the stark contrast between our paths. She saw happiness through others, manipulating and using, whereas I found it in my own growth and integrity. Her downfall wasn't something I wished for, but it served as a harsh reminder of the consequences of one's actions. As for me, I had moved on, learned from my past, and was building a life where respect, honesty, and self-reliance were the foundations. It was a hard-earned lesson, one that came out of the deepest pain, but in the end, it led me to a place of peace and genuine success. Story 2. Hi all. My wife cheated on me with her first boyfriend 11 years ago, in 2011. We had been married for almost 5 years when it happened. We were having a bad time before it happened. I used to work for a company where I had to sleep away from home 6 out of 10 nights that year. We started fighting more and more for many reasons. One particular reason is that I was carrying all the load of home expenses, whereas she was only helping with our then 4-year-old daughter's school fees. That created a lot of resentment in me, as I never agreed with that setup. We married relatively young at 26. Most of her friends were still single, and she was hanging around more and more with them. We used to have a nanny and a maid so that she did not have many chores to do at home. We used to talk over the phone quite often, 3 times a day, but we stopped doing it as we started drifting apart. We were friends with her ex and his wife, not close, but we had been at their place a few times, and honestly, I did not feel any threat from him. I regret that a lot, as I was not jealous, even when I saw she had him in her contacts list. It never crossed my mind that she was capable of cheating on me. She used her phone quite a lot, many times ignoring me on purpose, and I just hated it. One night, we again fought badly, and I went to sleep in a hotel. She was very resentful after this, and everything started going from bad to worse. No sex, it was already scarce, and no real conversations. One night we hosted a party with some friends, and she left her phone in the kitchen. I went to drink some water, and the phone started ringing. It was 11 p.m., so a bit late for a phone call. I checked the name, and it was a friend that I never heard of. I did not answer the call but instead confronted her. She said it was an old friend from school, and that she did not know the reason for the call. I called back but never got an answer. Feeling that something was wrong, I followed my gut and bugged her phone. I will always regret what happened after that. For some reason, I did not check the details of her movements for days. There was even one said that she had to go to work as usual, but this time she was dressing up quite hotter than normal with heels and perfume. I asked her who she was going to meet with a sad, concerned face. She noticed my distrust and told me, "Don't be silly, I love you." I believed her. I actually thought about following her and did not do it. Even worse, I did not check her movements shortly after that. Anyway, one night, 10 days later, I was at my work accommodation when she called me and told me she was going to meet a community leader so she could not take phone calls. That was weird to me, so the next day I logged into my computer and finally checked her location. She was in a hotel for 1 hour instead of the community leader's place. That was when I started reviewing all the data that the phone had captured. Although I could not check the content of text messages, I still could see the dates and times of the conversations and SMS exchanges. It was pretty obvious something was going on as these were very late. I called her and confronted her, and after some evasion, she finally confessed. Then I called her lover and told him I knew everything. The guy denied it all, such a coward. I was feeling really bad and depressed that day when suddenly I got an email from this guy's wife. It seems someone who knew both my wife and him actually saw them when she got into his car and followed them to the hotel. Then they sent an anonymous email to the wife, and she then sent it to me. So the issue was now public knowledge, quite bad in my small town. My wife begged me to meet her that same night. I declined at the beginning but ended up yielding into her request. I asked for permission at work to leave the site. We met and talked, probably the worst night of my life by far. She was begging me for forgiveness. I was simply asking why and how she had the courage to do what she did. I had never been in such a shocking state, and also have never seen her as she was that night, crying, begging, and unsure why she did what she did. I was mad that she had the decision in her hands, and then she was giving me the role of deciding about the relationship's future after what she had done. She said they met that Monday as she wanted to finish things with him. She could not have sex that night since she just had an IUD procedure and she was bleeding and in pain still. I was simply in shock and could not understand many things, let alone believe what she was telling me. I had to return to work the next morning. I was in the middle of my roster away from home and could not get out of the camp anymore. I decided to call her lover again and confronted him. I told him I was not going to make a scandal nor call his wife, provided he confessed the details of the affair. I guess I still wanted to protect my family and leave everything as a rumor. He agreed. He told me some similarities to what my wife told me, such as the duration of the affair, the number of times they had sex, and what happened the last time they met. I still caught some lies from my wife, which was devastating. The guy had the guts to tell me that my wife loved me but she was very lonely and vulnerable, and he just took advantage of that. What a piece of tea. As I later knew, his wife was heavily pregnant. I asked him to leave my wife alone and to sort the mess with his wife. He told me he had denied everything, so she was still unsure of the affair. Anyway, I kept searching the data from my wife's phone and noticed she was with her lover that said when I asked her why she was getting so pretty. She denied it at the beginning but then accepted it. That finished breaking my heart. I was desolate. She continued begging for forgiveness. However, I told her I was going to think about it. I traveled to another city to my mother's place with my daughter to think about what I wanted to do. My parents were divorced, hence I grew up without my father. I did not know until recently, when I had therapy, but it seems this situation really affected me, causing me to be afraid to be alone. Emotional attachment issues. Back in the day, I was thinking mainly about my daughter. I did not want her to grow up without me. I loved my wife. I knew we were in a real bad spell when all this happened and she seemed really regretful. She actually contacted her aunt, the closest relative she had, to mediate between us. She was embarrassed as her aunt is very religious. Anyway, I thought about my decision for about a week with my broken heart about what I wanted to do. It was such a horrible time. I finally decided to work things out, but under many conditions. My wife accepted, and the next 6 months really showed how challenging this situation is. I was basically not trusting anything about her, judging her, insulting her, and attempted to leave her a few times. Then there was one day that she basically had too much and did not stop me. She said that she could not continue like this. As much as she tried to remediate things, it was going to be impossible for her to amend things. She indeed was acting the best she possibly could, and I was simply humiliating her at every single opportunity. After that day, I stopped being in a hole. 11 years later, and many things have occurred. We now live in a different country, have a second child, and share lots of beautiful moments. However, our relationship has many ups and downs. We also fight badly, quite often not physically, and lately, I started feeling depressed because of her affair 11 years ago. Not sure why. Unfortunately, I can't see her as the pure person I would like to, and I know I am not giving 100% in the relationship due to my constant resentment. I love her, but many times I wonder if it was the right decision to continue our marriage. Many times I get back in time and think about the things I should have said or done. I feel disappointed with myself for not being harsher or brave enough to finish it. It boils my blood to think I did not have revenge against her lover or even tell his wife. It is driving me crazy. We still have amazing sex when we are okay, but I can't stop making images of when she was with him 11 years ago, and it still hurts a lot. It is hard to accept it and let it go. My wife and I met at a bar in Chicago. She was with 5 people, 2 men and 3 women. I was there alone that night to watch a football game. As soon as I spotted her, I wanted to talk to her. I resisted the urge for a bit, but then she made eye contact with me, and I was smitten. Her smile was so genuine, it made her eyes squint. When there was room for me to squeeze in, I switched chairs at the bar and greeted her. She seemed very pleased with me from the start. I found out she was with her sister and 4 co-workers to celebrate her 25th birthday. I was 27 at the time. I ordered her a drink, and we ended up talking through the entire football game. She joked with me about how I was missing it, but I told her I wasn't going to miss this, gesturing to her. We dated for 8 months before we just decided to move in with each other. We wanted to see each other more often, and it felt like the only way to do that was to share a place. We both worked full-time, alternating shifts, so that there were many days when we couldn't see each other at all and a few rare ones when we got to see each other all day. Before I knew it, we were together for 6 years. She helped me through the loss of my father and then my mother a week later. She always said I was her rock, but I could only see it the other way around. She was creative even in her empathetic sadness with me. We spent hours each weekend watching birds, marking ones we saw in a book my mother used to write in. I was grateful to have her, and I decided to marry her. Of course, the first year was blissful. I knew it would be. To celebrate our 1-year wedding anniversary, we had a party at the bar we met nearly a decade ago. She was still working the same job along with her 4 co-workers, so they were there. Her sister and my best friend were there too. We were surrounded by loved ones and truly happy. On a Tuesday, my wife borrowed my car to get to work since hers was being worked on. I had to come home an hour earlier to do this for her, but my boss respected my work so much he didn't mind helping me out when I needed it. The next morning, when I was leaving for work, I saw that my wife had left the windows down all night long. That was unusual. Inside the car, it smelled like cigarette smoke and cologne. Besides that, the gas was much lower than where it would have been if she'd only gone to work and come home. I had fallen asleep on the couch the night before, so I wasn't sure if my wife got home later than usual. At work, I texted her asking why the car smelled and where the gas went. She said she didn't want me to freak out, but she'd given a ride home to one of her coworkers, Jared. I knew Jared ever since the night we met, but I'd never gotten that close to him. Upon hearing this, I sent him a message, and he confirmed that she did give him a ride but said he didn't smoke cigarettes. This puzzled me. Instead of confronting my wife more, I let it slide and made it my goal to get to know Jared and hang out with him. We started going out to play pool and drink together on Thursday nights, and I invited my best friend to come along. I asked Jared not to tell my wife we were hanging out because I needed to figure out something. And I only told my wife I was meeting my best friend each Thursday, so it was a half-truth. Sometime later, my wife came home from work wearing different clothes than she left in. Her other clothes were in a shopping bag, and I could tell she was hoping I wouldn't ask or notice. When I asked, she said she just felt like going shopping and wearing something new. She did a twirl for me. I forced a smile, but I knew something was up. My wife always washed new clothes before wearing them. She started a load of laundry with the clothes she was wearing earlier that day and went to the bathroom. I stopped it and smelled her clothes. They smelled unusual, nothing like her usual scent. I confronted her about it as she sat on the toilet. She said I was being crazy and she didn't know what else to tell me besides the truth. She said she just got new clothes and didn't do anything wrong. The next day, I came home from work just as a red car pulled away from our house. I asked my wife who it was, and she hesitated before saying it was her sister who stopped by for a visit. I immediately texted her sister to ask what kind of car she drives. She replied saying a black SUV and asked me why I didn't respond. Instead, I was doing my very best to remain calm as my wife and I ate dinner. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was cheating on me. I didn't know how to prove it without her shooting me down and explaining everything away. I also didn't want our marriage to end. We started playing Xbox together when her phone pinged. She read something, then sighed, just as I asked her who it was. My phone pinged as well. She told me it was Jared asking her to cover his shift at work in 30 minutes because he was unexpectedly invited to a concert that evening. I told her that was weird because Jared had just texted me to see if I wanted to meet at the bar. She stared at me dead in the eyes for what felt like an eternity. I could see her breathing heavily. She said she didn't realize Jared and I talked to each other without missing a beat. I reached for her phone. I got a good hold on it, but so did she. We struggled as I tried to pry it from her hands. She kept screaming at me to stop, saying I was hurting her. I finally got it from her and tried to get away, but she tackled me to the floor. I shrugged her off within a few moments, so she grabbed my phone and threatened to smash it if I didn't give her back her phone. I thought for a moment, but I came to the conclusion that finding out who my wife was cheating on me with was more important to me than having to buy a new phone. I had to see for myself what she was desperately trying to keep from me. I dove into the bathroom and locked the door behind me. She continued screaming in frustration and threatening to smash my phone a few more times before she actually did it, and pieces came sliding in under the door. My hands were shaking as I read her messages with someone named Adam. She'd sent him nudes, and he returned the favor. One of them included his face. So I knew who I was looking for. They talked about their sex, how good it was, and how marital sex could never compare to forbidden sex. His most recent text was asking her if she could come up with an excuse to meet him at the very same bar I met my wife in all those years ago. I barged through the bathroom door, smacking my wife's face with it unintentionally. I grabbed my keys as she screamed after me, futilely trying to stop me. I told her I wanted her out of the house by the time I got back. She expressed her disbelief, and I sped away, texting and replying to Adam with her phone that said I was on my way and he should meet me out front. I found him immediately, parked the car, walked straight up to him, and punched him in the face. I asked him in an elevated voice if he just assumed I would never find out he was sleeping with my wife. A small crowd of people gathered around us, gasping and watching the drama unfold. He scrambled to get up, but I pushed him down at least twice before spitting on his face. I told him never to see her again. He finally got up and stumbled away, holding his jaw. When I got home, my wife was sitting on the steps. She noticed the red on my hand and started questioning me. When I didn't respond, she started begging me for forgiveness. She said she never meant to sleep with him, and it only happened once before he started sending her pictures and asking for more. I told her to get out of my house, and this time I yelled at her while looking straight into her eyes. I'm sure she saw no love coming from me because that was all gone. I threw her phone at her, and she caught it by luck, tears pouring out of her eyes like she was the victim. I forcefully told her again to leave, so she went upstairs and started packing. She sat in her car with her stuff for an hour before pulling out of the driveway for the last time. She went to live with her sister, who was an hour and a half away, and she quit her job that same night. It's been 2 years since this happened. We're officially divorced now. But every day since, she sent me a good morning text among other things, trying to get me to respond or show any kind of emotion towards her. She hasn't gotten a new job, and she's gained weight. Her sister is on the verge of kicking her out because she has no ambition in life. She tells me all this in the hopes that it will make me reply to her, but I never do. I'm starting a new relationship now, and I know that when she finds out, it will break her down even more. She knows she lost the love of her life, and there's no one to blame but herself. Opus, I am so sorry your wife did this to you. There is never any valid excuse to cheat on a spouse. Marital sex is supposed to be much more thrilling and special than sex with someone you haven't committed to. Being intimate with someone you've chosen to spend your life with is surely one of the greatest treasures anyone can experience in life. Is it not what so many of us strive for? To find and commit to one love that reciprocates our feelings and values us just the same. The moment infidelity happens, that promise and the sacredness of the marital union is destroyed. It can't be repaired or brought back. Being enough for someone isn't enough. You must continually choose that person, the same person you committed to in the first place, because the moment you stop choosing them, that true love is at risk. To keep a love alive, you must remember why you love them and that they are worthy of your love throughout life. Now, let's get into our next story for today. At the time of this story, I had been with my girlfriend since high school. In school, we shared a group of friends, one of those friends being a kid named Tyler. He was my best friend. And if anyone saw me in high school, Tyler was usually within 5 feet. After we graduated, I was extremely disappointed that my girlfriend moved with her family out of state, but we continued our relationship as a long-distance one. Since she moved away, I was only more encouraged to enlist in the Army, just as my grandfather, father, and older brothers did before me. I served 4 years in Afghanistan. Right at the end of the 4-year mark, I noticed a lump in my testicles. I had surgery on them to remove whatever it was. It turned out to be benign, so not only did I have that to be thankful for, but I was also back in my hometown with my own place to live. Sure, I was recovering from surgery with a diaper on, but I was happy. My girlfriend made the long journey to help take care of me and potentially move in. During all this time, I kept in touch with Tyler, but he told me he couldn't make the trip to come see me and didn't know when he'd be able to. On the first night my friend was in my home, she cleaned up for me and offered to cook us something for dinner. She asked me to look up a recipe for chicken cordon bleu, but my phone was unexpectedly dead and wouldn't charge. She seemed a little hesitant to hand me hers, asking me more than once if I were sure. My phone wouldn't turn on. She passed it off as if she was just disappointed I didn't have a phone anymore and finally handed me hers. In the midst of looking up a recipe, a text message from Tyler came up across the top of the screen. He asked if I suspected anything. My heart rate picked up, and my balls started to hurt. I clicked on the message, and it felt like my stomach jumped into my throat. My girlfriend had been texting him on the entire drive to my house, talking about how she was great at keeping secrets and playing it cool. Tyler was extremely anxious that I was going to find out about them. They'd been having sex while I was deployed, even referring to it as a sexcation. I wasn't sure how long they'd been going at it, but it had apparently happened quite a bit. I saw every part of Tyler I never wanted to see, and he had photos of everything my girlfriend pretended to be so modest about. Pictures were sent between them on my birthday. Even one of the pictures was the same one my girlfriend sent me. That was also at least one day I had talked to both of them on a video call. I never suspected them of anything, and they never even told me they talked to each other. I was under the impression they lost contact after high school. Suddenly, my world was crashing down, and I was hungry and helpless. My girlfriend asked me if I found anything good, and all I said was, yeah, and showed her the texts. Her jaw dropped, and she turned red. She grabbed her phone from me and swore that they never actually had sex, claiming it was all fantasy talk, and they were only worried about me finding out. They'd been sending pictures and having video calls. I told her I wasn't about to believe her lies. I told her to leave me and never come back. She was shocked. She tried to ask me how I was going to recover alone, but I told her I'd be better off figuring it out myself than with a backstabbing piece of trash. She withdrew into herself, gathered her things, and left. At that moment, I was proud of myself for kicking her out, wearing a diaper and all. I didn't have a phone, so I survived in my home until I was well enough to go out, replace my phone, and order some chicken cordon bleu. Thankfully, the army made it easy for me to survive and be comfortable living alone. I waited until I was ready before I jumped back in the dating pool. I hadn't been single since high school, but in a way, I was alone the entire time. I never truly had a girlfriend or best friend. Tyler reached out to me just an hour after my ex left my house, but I never responded to him. He proved he wasn't a friend at all. Everyone in my hometown knew of us and eventually found out what my high school sweetheart did to me as I served in Afghanistan and recovered from surgery. Each time she tries to come back and visit, no one wants to see or talk to her. She brings Tyler along, which makes it worse. He knows they aren't welcome there anymore. The last time they visited, I heard they were arguing in public. My ex's parents have since moved back here, so she's extremely embarrassed and just wants to move on, but can't. Not after betraying me as she did. I'm regarded as a war hero, neighbor, and friend around here, and I think justice has been served. Opus, my reaction. With the common mentality in today's society, I feel as though long-distance relationships rarely go as planned. A man can be worthy of the same loyalty he's offering a woman and yet never find it. With shortening attention spans, heightened lust, and naivety spreading like a plague, it's better to learn to love the sanctity of being alone and loving yourself. Then, when a worthy woman presents herself, you'll know it, and you'll be ready to love. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well, and I wish you the best of luck and love in life. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joni, and today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Now let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. My wife and I were married for 13 years. She was a second-grade teacher at an elementary school. For several years, there were a few parent-teacher conferences and school faculty parties that we attended together. I got to meet her colleagues and even the principal and his wife. In 2015, my wife and I had a daughter of our own. From my perspective, life was perfect. My 1049 decided to treat us to a trip to Hollywood, California, since my wife had a passion for the film industry and movies. We each brought 2 friends. As a group, we toured a few of the film sets for The Mandalorian. Afterwards, we split up. The girls went to a nightclub while the guys went to a casino aiming to win some money playing poker. While we were apart, my wife texted me about all the naughty things she wanted to do to me when we got back to the hotel room. I got back early around 11 p.m., showered, and ready to have fun. She didn't return until well after 1 a.m. in a drunken stupor. Clearly, nothing was happening tonight, so I tucked her into bed and plugged in her phone. When it lit up, I noticed a text from someone named Bill that read, "I wish I was there with you." This wasn't on her default messaging app, so I unlocked her phone and started reading through their conversation. About the school, students, and other things, I was able to figure out that it was the principal. Mixed into their casual conversation were messages of adoration and flirting. My wife sent him pictures of her in her hot outfits and lingerie that was supposed to be for my eyes only. After he told her how hot she was, they discussed how bad it would be if anyone found out about them talking. So they decided they would change their passwords and refrain from texting each other in front of their spouse. It was a terrible plan, and my wife apparently forgot to change her passcode. He also told her he loved her, and I was devastated that she said she loved him too. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my phone. I found AP's wife on social media. I deleted all traces of my gathering evidence before setting my wife's phone down and waking her up with one question. I asked her why she was messaging the principal of her school. She sat straight up in bed with a gasp and asked me what I was talking about. It looked like she glanced around for her phone too. I told her not to play dumb and that I just read everything and wanted answers. She covered her face and wailed. Before I asked anything, she said she only played along because he said his wife didn't love him anymore. She immediately promised me she would never speak to him again. I told her I didn't care if they continued their relationship because we were over, and everyone around town was going to hear what was going on between them. She begged me, sobbing, not to tell anyone about it. I'm sure she would have jumped me if she knew I had the evidence on my phone. I knew she wouldn't leave the hotel without doing her hair and makeup, so I left her there, luggage in hand. Just before the door slammed shut, she screamed that this would ruin our lives. I knew that, and I wanted it to ruin hers and his. Our daughter and I would cope, but when I thought of her, I did feel despair. Her mother betrayed us. I told my MIL and wife's friends that I discovered my wife's affair with the school principal. They could hardly believe it and didn't say much. My 1049 apologized to me and said this came as a shock to her. She said she regretted taking us on the trip, but I told her not to blame herself. The only people who needed to feel bad were my wife and AP. I left the hotel with my friends and reached out to AP's wife to tell her everything, along with the proof. The town we lived in, where my wife taught second grade, was a small, close-knit town. Word traveled fast, and chances were everyone knew or knew of you. After I told AP's wife the terrible news, she took it to social media and reported their affair to the Department of Education herself. My wife was correct. This did ruin their lives. Neither of them was permitted to set foot in the school again, and both of them were served divorce papers. The proof I gathered ensured that I received full custody of our daughter, and we got to keep the house. My wife had no choice but to stay with one of her friends because her mother and everyone else turned against her. From what I heard, the principal left the state after he lost his career and family. Now, let's get into the second story. My fiancée was an extremely spoiled woman. She always had things handed to her, but she never noticed. She just thought it was easy and things would always work out. A part of me fell for this optimism of hers because she drew people in like sunshine. It's no wonder people gave her whatever she wanted. We dated for 2.5 years before I proposed. I met her family a year into our relationship, and we grew close, and I felt like she was meant to be my wife. We started planning our wedding, and it was sure to be a grand event. Her parents spared no expense, agreeing to anything their daughter wanted. One day, she took one of her bridesmaids named Heather to order our wedding cake. When she came home, I expected to hear all about it and see pictures of what she decided on. Instead, she seemed off. She said she didn't feel good and needed to lay down. I asked her how it went, but all she said was that they weren't able to pick one out. I was worried about her, but it was just the start of her odd behavior. Over the next 4 weeks, there were several odd occurrences. One night, my fiancée told me she needed to take one of her bridesmaids out to dinner because she was tempted to cheat on her husband. I was surprised but wished her luck persuading her friend that cheating is never worth it. She didn't get back until I was fast asleep, and all she said the next day was that she did her best to convince her. Another night, she left the apartment while I was in the shower. It was completely unexpected, so I tried calling her, but she didn't answer until the third try. She said she realized we needed kitty litter for the cats. After she hung up on me, I found a full bag of kitty litter in the back of the closet, like she hid it from me. When she got back 3 hours later without kitty litter, I asked her if she was having doubts about us. She immediately said no and added that I didn't need to be so concerned when she stepped out. This was bad and weird. I asked her if her friend was cheating on her husband. This caught her off guard, but she admitted her friend was. I said that was too bad and that she should tell her friend's husband so he could file for divorce. She just looked at me like I was crazy and said she wouldn't rat on her friend, even if she was cheating on him. I told her that while it's true that cheating ruins lives, he deserves to know the truth of his wife's betrayal because no one would want to stay married to a cheater. She couldn't look me in the eye, and it was clear she didn't want to talk about it anymore. Suddenly, there was just 1 month left before the wedding. My fiancée came home late, claiming she was at a birthday party for Heather. After she passed out in bed, I got a message from Heather herself. She told me that she didn't feel right coming to me, but she didn't feel right keeping secrets either. My fiancé had told her to lie to me if I asked about her birthday party. On top of that, she was with her when she was supposed to order our wedding cake. She met a man there who started flirting with her. He asked if she was sure she wanted to get married because he could win her heart if she let him. She was taken aback but gave him her number and basically invited him to try. Heather asked me if she'd been acting weird or if I suspected she was seeing someone else. I told her yes and thanked her for telling me. While she slept, I checked her phone. I found messages between her and AP even before she got home that night. He asked if he was winning her heart, and she replied yes. That night, as my fiancé slept, I installed spyware on her phone so I could see what they said to each other. When she woke up, I told her I was going to stay at my best man's house, Josh, until the ceremony in 1 month for superstitious reasons. She didn't argue with me at all and actually seemed pleased that she would have the house to herself. While we lived separately, she increased the intimacy and romantic messages she sent to AP, even telling him he was a better lover than me. And I was already coping with the end of our relationship. I knew I wasn't marrying this woman, and she was surely going to call off the wedding at any minute. Well, she didn't. She tells AP through the phone that she has to marry me because her family has already accepted and approved of me. However, since I hadn't discovered their affair yet, they would keep seeing each other until she could frame me for cheating on her so she could get the house and alimony payments. I could not believe the sheer evilness of her plan. She wanted to completely ruin my life, even though I didn't do anything to deserve this. I told my best man, Josh, everything. He helped me to plan revenge against her. I had images of their messages, so we planned the most embarrassing moment of her life. The day of the wedding came, and we got ready as if it was the real deal, except we had a few surprises in store. The chapel had a speaker system installed, so we wired ourselves with small microphones. I stood at the altar, presenting every moment I spent with this entitled bimbo as my would-be wife walked down the aisle, surrounded by her emotional and supportive family. They snapped pictures and filmed. Suddenly, Josh stepped forward and said, "Wait a minute." His voice was loud and clear and instantaneously made everyone uncomfortable. The bride stopped walking. Josh looked at my face, even grabbed it sarcastically, and said, "I think we have the wrong lover." Everyone gasped as he rushed over to the curtain behind us, pulling it aside to reveal he dressed in a suit, holding a sign that read, "Marry me instead." The bride fainted. Everyone really started freaking out. They didn't know what to think, but I could tell they wanted to be mad at someone. When she came to with a damp cloth on her head, her family demanded answers. She didn't even know that Josh and I contacted AP, asking him to marry her instead. We were able to convince him that it was what she truly wanted and that their wedding would be a happy, wonderful day. He got down on one knee with his sign, and my fiancée only started sobbing. Her family was still demanding answers as she stared at me with tears streaming down her face. Her father finally had enough and grabbed AP by the arm, dragging him outside. She dropped to her knees in front of me at the altar, begging me to forgive her because she truly wanted to marry me, which is why she didn't call off the wedding. I didn't say a word. Josh started reading the messages between her and AP, pronouncing the naughtiest words loud and clear. It became super awkward in the room, and her family started to believe she was cheating on me before everyone started filing out. Her mother wailed over how much money they spent on the wedding. She asked her how she had the audacity to ruin her life in the future by sleeping with another man when she was engaged to be married. Everyone, including Josh and I, left my would-be wife alone in the chapel. Since that day, her only goal has been to get back her family's trust and support. But after that nightmare, I doubt things will ever be easy for her again. After having an altercation outside, AP realized pretty quickly that he messed up too.